Welcome to Earthenkind Quests. My name is Mike. This video shares a design of a Fiendish domain with options of how to create battlefields and other encounter areas. You may have seen parts of this design in the video series of Nemesis Battles, involving characters in Dungeons & Dragons, specifically when they go into a hellish realm. Here I will guide through the 6 key points that helped me to design this setting. I encourage to modify and improve in whatever way will work best in your games and adventures. The first point is about how the Fiendish domain fits within the game world or fantasy story. What makes this place relevant for a fantasy adventure? Have the characters developed a relationship with a fiend who lives in this place? Maybe through a warlock pact or another kind of fiendish contract. Are the characters trying to rescue someone who is imprisoned here? Are they trying to recover a lost artifact? Are the characters trapped in here? In the story of the Nemesis Battles videos, an archfiend acted as a major antagonist, interacting at first only with one warlock character, and then later with a sorcerer and other characters for different reasons. In this case, the domain of the archfiend could make logical sense as a possible battlefield. By the time when a battle will occur, then the characters probably already will know some information about the archfiend, about the other occupants of this domain, and about what they might expect when they will travel into this place. The second point in this design was about the elemental themes. In some interpretations, a fiendish domain could be made of ice, or it could be made of howling wind and dust. I decided to go with the classic theme of smoke and fire. This approach matched with how some of the characters were designed around fire and flame powers. You could imagine about characters wielding flaming swords or casting fireball spells. Some of the characters could be resistant or immune to fire damage. The third point involved how the elemental themes could influence what the environment looked like. In principle, fire and smoke could occur almost anywhere. In a fantasy story, though, the Fiendish domain could feel like it is unreal or beyond the bounds of normal life. Ordinary people could not live here. Maybe this place contains no water source and no signs of a healthy habitat for plants and animals. I wanted for the terrain to be rough and rocky. Additionally, I wanted some of the rock formations to be towering up high, or maybe floating at different elevations. In some areas, I might include burned or dead trees. Maybe the trees just look like they are dead. Given the theme of fire and smoke, of course I wanted to include pools and columns of fire, as well as clouds of smoke. The areas of fire could erupt from anywhere. I made the smoke part of the general atmosphere. In some specific locations, the smoke and fumes could be poisonous, or they could bring other effects. Point number 4 was about how to convert the components of this location into game mechanics. The rock formations do not necessarily do anything potentially harmful, rather they present possibilities as obstacles, as cover, and as ways to climb upward to be closer to flying enemies. The areas of fire are easy to manage by assigning an amount of damage for whenever a creature first enters or starts a turn inside the fire. I start with a base of 2d8 fire damage. I adjust according to whatever will fit with the challenge level. I advise to make the fire damage applicable only once per turn, otherwise someone could move a target into the fire for some damage, out again, back into the fire for more damage, and so on. Most of the fiends and other residents of the Fiendish domain are immune to fire or at least resistant to fire damage. These creatures could move freely through the environment, while the characters probably will need to be more mindful about their positioning. The areas of smoke and fumes could be managed with a few options. The easiest approach is to be descriptive about the environment with no actual game mechanics involved. The next easiest approach is to impose a limit on visibility, such as normal vision out to 60 feet, lightly obscured space beyond 60 feet, and heavily obscured space beyond 120 feet. You could change these distances for whatever will work in your games. I should note that dark vision cannot see through obscurement. Devil's Sight and True Sight cannot see through obscurement. Only blind sight can see through the obscurement of fog or smoke. For an especially challenging encounter, the characters could be moving through limited visibility or zero visibility, essentially with a blinded condition, while some of their enemies could operate with blind sight. You could create scattered places of total obscurement with smoke and fumes, similar to the scattered places of fire pools and columns. These spaces should be limited, allowing for characters to be creative about their positioning and movements. A more difficult aspect with smoke and fumes would involve exposure to poison damage or a poisoned condition. I would treat these hazardous spaces similar to the pools and columns of fire. The triggering event would be whenever a character first enters or starts its turn inside here, applicable only once per turn. I would begin with a base of 2d6 of poison damage, and then the poisoned condition could last until the start of the target's next turn. I might allow a Constitution saving throw so that a success results in half of the damage and no poison condition. Again, I should note that most fiend creatures are immune to poison damage and the poison condition. All of these features of the rock formations, the fire, and the smoke and fumes potentially could work for or against the characters. The fiends and other denizens of this domain are familiar with these features, and they are immune to some of the effects. Some particularly powerful creatures could create their own columns of fire, or move the clouds of fumes, possibly as legendary actions. For higher levels of challenge, I might consider that the entire fiendish domain is intense with fire and fumes. Whenever any creature starts a turn inside here, then it rolls randomly to ascertain about suffering the fire damage, the poison fume effect, or both. Point number 5 in the design is all about what the characters are doing during a specific encounter. So far, I could generate a random distribution of the features. I can understand what those features are and how they operate mechanically. Now I can adjust the specific placements of the features according to whatever the characters are doing here. In one example, 3 characters battled against each other in an arena style of combat for the amusement of the Archfiend. In this case, the battle started inside a mostly cleared space with low density of the environmental features. The surroundings included higher density of these features. The characters could move through or around the environment in whatever manner would work best for them. The characters happened to be equipped with impressive mobility, vertically and horizontally. In another example, 3 characters travel into this domain on a quest to rescue their friends from captivity. In this case, a mostly clear route is available to go straight to the captivity area. 2 servants of the Archfiend are positioned along this route, prepared to intercept the rescue team. The characters then need to decide how to approach the encounter. In a third example, 2 characters want to escape from this hellish domain. The only path available to them is blocked by a formidable foe. The final design point, number 6, is a reminder to be patient with how the design may or may not work. Sometimes the components of the design will become ineffective or irrelevant. Maybe the characters do not make use of the rock formations for cover or for vertical mobility. Maybe nobody ends up being pushed into a column of fire. Maybe everybody here is immune to fire and poison. Even without the direct interaction, the characters still can experience what the environment looks like, what it feels like during the challenging moments, and what possibilities might yet be explored during other encounters. The enemies surely will make some use of the environment and the local features. The Dungeon Master or Game Master always can apply the components in other encounters. I like how I can modify the general design for accommodating a variety of individual encounters and challenges, as you can see in the video episodes of Nemesis Battles. I should clarify that you can enjoy any single video episode without knowing anything about the series as a whole package. How would you modify or improve this design? Please share in the comment section. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.